What's up, Porchi? Oh, we have to get this to the printers tomorrow. I got myself into a tight spot, promising Porchi to finish his calendar by the end of the week, and on the last day I had just one of the 12 illustrations colored. I still struggle with coloring. Porchi is not usually fussy about color. He is a black and white cartoon after all. But this calendar goes to a fun and colorful dance school, full of children, so it must be bright. So I decided to take a practical and productive approach, and I managed to get all 12 pages colored in just one day, and everybody loved it. First I'll show you my layer structure. So this is the finished Clip Studio file, and for the purpose of making a helpful video, I tidied up the layers a bit. Let's hide this and go quickly from the bottom up. Over the standard white paper, I usually have a colored layer to help me check white parts of the drawing, and I keep it usually hidden. Here I have the reference image I used for the background at half opacity. Next is a layer for sketching the background, and then one for the character sketch. When sketching characters, there is a lot of scaling and moving parts around, so it's better not to have it on the same layer as the background. The same goes for the final line work layers. This is the background one, and here are the characters. I use vector layers for line work, but I plan a special video for this topic, so let's get directly to the coloring part. So, under the line work layers, I have raster layers for colors, and for this particular project I'm using just one color layer. This would not be practical for a properly colored image. I would use several color layers for background, characters, and maybe even for shadows and lights. But this time I decided to try something really loose and simple and fast to be able to finish in time. So one layer was enough. I have a Porchi color layer here, but I did not use it. At first I will play the coloring video at real-time speed, so you can see the actual pace I'm working at. It's rather slow. Then I will increase the speed and explain some more things on the voiceover. Technically, all I have to say is that I'm using a couple of the standard watercolor brushes, the eraser tool with hard edges, and I like picking the colors from a palette tray, so I'm using the ready-made additional color set that I found in Clip Studio. So you'll immediately notice that I'm not using many digital tricks. Instead, I'm doing this as much as possible like I was painting in the real world with, say, some very nice watercolor markers and real brushes and a lot of paint. This is a deliberate choice because I have been working with digital art software for a very long time, not saying how long, and Clip Studio has some neat features that I could use to fill in shapes and work efficiently. That would not be difficult for me, but coloring is. I think that the main difficulty with digital coloring is not learning the advanced tricks. It is making it look not digital. Not in the sense that you must trick the viewer into really believing that you made it on paper, but succeeding to get to that stage in which your digital coloring looks professional enough so it's not obvious and can compete with a traditional medium. And that requires some competence that I still don't have because I don't color so much, so here is my easy way of doing this. My rules for this project: all coloring on one layer, minimal erasing, minimal undo, no bothering with following the edges, actually avoiding coloring inside the edges so that it looks intentional, not zooming too much so you can work on large areas, with broad strokes, skipping detail, layering transparent shades of colors, keeping to a few colors from the palette. As for the colors, this is a combination that I used before and I'm confident it will turn out well. Various reds, because the dance school color is red and usually the dancers wear red, some purples, especially for shadows, and some yellows in areas that need more light and focus, and just small bits of other colors like green socks. Porchi stays white, no matter what. So you might ask, why not do this traditionally on paper if you go to such extent to mimic traditional? First, because I am not very good or fast at coloring traditionally either. And digital does have some obvious advantages if you get used to technology. It's less messy, deleting mistakes is easier if you don't fall into the trap of the unending undo. You can reuse things, you can adjust the colors as you please, you can combine layers. So it really helps to do things easier and faster, even when you use it in a simplified way. I'll speed up the video now and talk a bit about this scene of Porky and his dancer friends warming up before class. Porky is a pig of many hobbies, and it was to be expected that he will join the Irish dance school my daughter attends. I also draw the school's cat mascots, so he made friends easily. At the dance studio, both children and adults are fond of Porky and they love the special calendar I have been making for some years. They look closely at the drawings and love to discover details they can recognize. This is why I keep close to my reference image, adding details they will notice: the clock on the wall, the bathroom door, the red curtains. They also love trying to guess which kid inspired me for the different cats in the drawings. I could make a separate color layer for the characters, but here I decided not to. I'm in a hurry. I'll just erase a bit more. The dance dress code is red, but there is always some kitten differently colored. Coloring the cat's fur is fun too. Here they will stand out well from the background because I will color the mirrors in the back very lightly, and the purple bluish shadows under the feet are enough to add the third dimension to the scene. Using the watercolor brush works well because the colors are a bit faded and transparent. For the characters' clothes, I will layer some more color to make them pop out a bit. Porky pops no matter what. Adding those yellows at the end made the scene feel sunny and alive, and I don't know if you agree, but I felt it was the right time to consider this image done and go to the next one. As I progress, I gather more courage, and applying the colors in this way gets easier and faster. For the scenes inside the studio, I can keep the same color scheme. This corner has a window, so I'll get more yellows on this side. Those two are Cat and Click, and they are amazed at Porky's jumps. Even if they are small in the scene, the colors will help them grab a bit of the viewer's attention. But let's have Click wear a green t-shirt for a change. And here I used the Porky color layer. I decided this scene did not need anything but Porky in it, so this will be extra easy. Some purples for the floor and background, some fun colors on the book and the dance instructions bubble. But we do need some red too, so let's get Porky geared up in dance class uniform and give him some shoes. In June, the dance school performs on a stage outside in a park, so the color scheme will gain a lot of greens, and there will be more red on display because all the dancers are dressed in full performing costumes, red and sparkly. I'll still use the purples and blues a bit in the shadows and some yellow to brighten the scene. Porky too wants to wear the school costume, and he looks very handsome in it. Say cheese! There are many cats in this scene, and I try not to make them look repetitive. The orange cat in the foreground is a nice lady that is always helping out at events and always filming the kids. In July, the school has its summer dance camp, and they go to the mountains. Sometimes I'm having trouble finding the right shades of green, not making it too saturated or too dead looking. Greens are difficult. Adding yellow seems to be a good fix. I don't want to make it realistic, but it has to be a nice grass color. In August we get to the sea. This will be an easy scene to color, I'll just play with broad strokes of blue for the water. The watercolor transparency, that's the trick. You notice that I work faster as I advance through the months and through the hours up to my deadline. This is a funny one that will delight the kids. On Halloween, the studio has a party and dresses up its own ghost, complete with Irish dance headpiece and shoes. In November, the competition season starts, and Porchi helps with new costumes. It does get a bit messy. The dance studio is a cool space to use as an illustration background. It is situated in a loft and has mirrors on two walls and these rustic looking wooden beams that give it a warm and distinct feel. We're getting near the end of the calendar year, of the time left to my coloring deadline, and the end of my voiceover voice. I was getting tired, but I pushed through the last scene that had turned out a bit more complicated with many details. The coloring and values for the tree and the characters around it were conflicting, so I worked a bit longer on fixing this. And I got to the printers in time, and I presented the calendar at the Irish dance school party as planned. So Porchi will get to dance this year too. I hope you had fun following along, and maybe you get inspired to try this method of coloring if you ever are pressed by a deadline. See you next time!